And we are live with episode 142 of the Start, Build, Growth Show. Randy Brothers, my friend, what is going on, superstar hotshot, man? We got to do a quick shout out before we bring in this guest we got here. We got a great guest. We are excited to be here today. First time doing it live in person in quite some time. So I'm excited about that. Different energy to it. But we got Randy Brothers here, man. You continue to hit celebrity status in the roofing industry, man.
Just a guy.
And now you're on the cover of the Roofing Contractor magazine with your business partner, Elite Roofing, Cody Hayes. Man, congratulations. Thanks, man. Well done again.
Appreciate
How
that.
You doing, celebrity?
Shoot, man. I'm just working, man. I'm just doing the day-to-day grind. So, funny story. So we took that picture a while ago when we were at a conference with them, and we didn't know what was going on. Then they emailed us. We knew we were going to be featured as in an article, right? They're putting out an article. This kind of like a follow-up for the Young Guns. We were featured, 5-6 years ago as Young Guns when we were somewhat young. Now I guess we're the old guns. And so we filled out the form to kind of do the article or whatever, and then I had no clue. Like I had no clue that they were going to actually feature us on the cover until last week's episode. One of our loyal viewers, Brooke, was like, "Oh, congratulations!" I was like, "On what?" And so literally right after that is when I got the notification. I saw it, went online and saw it, and that's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, we're just here trying to help people and serve our industry as best we can. So appreciate that. And
absolutely, man.
It's fun while it lasts, but I'm still just a guy, man. We're here trying to share the wealth.
Well, let's keep making some plays, man. Let's keep changing the industry, right?
Yeah,
man, let's do it. I love it. Congratulations. But do you want to introduce our guest here?
Speaking of story time, we like to tell stories to get started. So probably about the same time, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I show up to a roofing conference, a little mini conference here in Denver. And this dude walking around with a bunch of energy wearing a money suit.
Oh yeah.
Was on stage like emceeing, was a host, and little I know he's like the director of marketing for the Atlas Shingle Corporation. And lo and behold, that's how I met Mr. Stan here. And I was like, that guy's cool. We're going to be friends. This guy walking around with a money suit. You still have the money suit, by the way?
I do. It's gathering dust. It's interesting. My son actually borrowed it to take to Tacky Friday last week. So
nice.
He's like, can I borrow your money suit? I want to wear it to school. He's 13. I'm like, yes, I've raised you right.
I love it, man. Stan Bastek. Many of you have seen him. I mean, you've seen him at the conventions, the IRE, at the shows. If you're familiar with Atlas manufacturing, shingle manufacturing, Stan. Yeah. And he's done an amazing job, and I mean, the branding and the marketing and some of the things that you guys have done is just unheard of in the industry, and you've had a major impact, and it's been fun to watch. I got my hat on. I wear this thing all the time. You guys did that truck thing a couple years ago, and you're well known. So you guys are really making a huge impact. It's been a lot of fun to watch, man.
Well, I appreciate it. We're trying. I think, like you said, we're just we're trying to connect with people and keep it fun and fresh and exciting, and just be as down to earth as we can. And that's the name of the game, And the money suit is it was just a great conversation starter. So many people are like, I just remember you wearing that money suit. You're crazy, man. And I'm like, I've met a lot of great people just because I wore that money suit. And they're like, if he's that crazy, I got to go talk to him. So it's it's good not to take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, we all need to get money suits.
Hey, I'm in, man. I am in. You got to make some kind of impression, right? So we like to start with the story, right? The background. How did you kind of get where you are now? In the roofing space with Atlas and everything like that. What's your background?
Sure. I didn't have much of a construction background at all. Didn't have family that was in the roofing industry or anything. I actually started at Atlas during a hiring freeze because the company was in the middle of a potential merger, which fell through. But I just stumbled into this job looking for something through a temp agency, and I was running sales reports and in the mailroom, and I was like, this is actually pretty fun and interesting, And I think about 15 years ago, our industry was not really leaders in marketing and sales processes, and it was a great time to get into an organization that was looking for ideas and looking for energy. And they empowered me to do a lot of interesting and unique things at the company. They let me break some eggs, so to speak, and we had a lot of really good people that were just committed to trying to do it the right way and build a great organization. So, I got into it really by happen chance more than anything. And it's been a great ride. It's been fun to see how this industry's evolved, how contractors have evolved, how distribution's evolved through all of the roll-ups of distribution and mergers and acquisitions there. It's changed a lot in 15 years.
Yeah. What would you say is probably the thing that stands out the most that you've seen that has changed over the last 15 years since you've been there?
It's cliche, but it's so true. Just the emergence of emerging technologies that are being applied to our industry.
Yeah.
It really was a non-factor. CRMs and drone technology and aerial roof measurements and lead generation tools and all of that stuff. It's been like we've come light years, I feel like, in the last 5 to 10 years. That's been pretty incredible, but also just the changing landscape of how contracting businesses sort of approach, their go-to-market strategies like yours. It's very different than it used to be.
Yeah.
More sales organizations than maybe, roofing contracting companies, and then there's the hybrid of both of that. But you see a lot more pure sales organizations today than you ever did 10, 15 years ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, we use the term archaic, right? Our industry was fairly archaic compared to other industries. And for the last decade, it's come a long way. It's been fun to be a part of it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And shingle technology's changed a little bit, in some ways. A lot of people still think a weathered wood shingle is a weathered wood shingle, but there's been some pretty cool advancements in shingle technology too. Distribution looks very different today than it used to. So it's been pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the other thing that's really interesting is seeing how communities of contractors are getting together to share best practices, and we're willing to you guys are listening to each other. You built a platform on teaching other contractors how to build their business.
Yep.
I feel like it was more closed off 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I'm a generational contractor. My grandfather, and not necessarily in roofing specific, he did actually have a roofing company. I remember when I was like 5 years old, looking up, watching my dad and grandpa up on the roof, slinging hammers, shingling. And but he had an auto shop. They did paintless day repair. He had a construction company. So just as a business type of third generation business contractor. Back then it was just you just learn and grow and learn and don't share, and everybody everybody's competition, and you don't want to keep your cards to your chest. And nowadays it's like, if you're not sharing, if you're not part of a group or getting coached or coaching or helping serve others, you're almost behind the 8 ball.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and I think the realization is, there's common issues and obstacles out there that are only going to be able to be solved by the collective. Labor issues are a big part of that. That's a big thing that NRCA is driving, how to leverage technology and marketing and how to train salespeople. I think that's why you've been really successful with your program, because again, I think there's a lot of companies out there that, they don't know how to go build a world-class training platform to go onboard people when they need to scale their business up, so you got to be listening and talking to people in order to be able to get there.
Absolutely. And the reality of it is, if you're not, your neighbor is.
Yeah.
There's
not going to be in business for long.
And you said it early on when we were doing our intros is, I really kind of teach this concept is, we have to shift our mind to be a great sales organization that happens to be really good at installing roofs as well.
Absolutely.
Versus I'm a roofer. And, I got to figure out, I just write estimates and every once in a while they get signed and I roof projects. No, you want to scale and grow your business. You have to become a sales organization, a marketing and sales organization. You have to do things unique and different. And, and we'll dive into some of the marketing stuff, because I know that's your forte. We got Nick, he's a marketing guru. And I love marketing as well, and the different unique strategies that you can use nowadays to facilitate a great sales program. Those two go hand in hand so much, all the way across the board, from roofers to manufacturers to suppliers to vendors to tech, all those things it's all about sales and marketing nowadays.
Totally. And I think the sales part of it too, I think is the part I'm most passionate and interested. As your businesses, as contracting businesses have gotten more sophisticated, distribution has had to get more sophisticated, and therefore manufacturers have to get more sophisticated. So we really went through an evolution over the last 10 years of redefining what a sales organization needs to look like. We were a manufacturing company 15 years ago. Now we're a manufacturing company with a professional sales organization to support that, right?
Yep.
We're really true to our roots, right? We build things, right? We don't have we create something, and we have a bunch of physical facilities and a lot of employees that rely on that ability to come to work every day and make an asphalt shingle. But the only way that we can keep those plants rocking and rolling is to have a sales force that can go out and connect in a meaningful way with companies like yours, right? That are looking for, solutions providers, not just another weathered wood shingle.
Yeah.
There's plenty of that.
And I just had a conversation on a coaching call with a client earlier, and we talked exactly about how important your relationship with your manufacturer and your supplier is.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of companies early on, they're just getting started. They don't know where to go, what to do. They're kind of navigating the waters and, only going off of what they know, or what they think they know. They're just trying to learn as they go, but I think one of the first places you got to start when you're trying to grow your company, get a company started, is you've got to establish those key relationships. And that's with the manufacturer as well as with your supplier, and multiple too. I mean, depends on the situation,
100%.
But the more relationships you can have, the better leverage you're going to have down the road. And when you need support, you're going to be able to get that kind of support.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it's also a really important point. A lot of times, there's a perception that shingle manufacturer, distributor, we're fixated on getting all of your business. We're not. We're just trying. I mean, again, I can't speak for other, but at Atlas, we look at this and say, you may need to have a multi-brand strategy to be successful in your market with your go-to-market strategy, with the types of businesses you're in. You probably need to have relationships with more than one distributor. It's just the way the business has evolved. But I think that you hit the nail on the head. If you're starting your business, or if you're in that mode where you're trying to get from $500,000 to $1 million, or $1 million to $2 million, and you're trying to understand, how do I do that? And where does the manufacturer partnership come in? You need to talk to every single rep in the market, because the relationship you build with the rep is way more important than the product features and benefits. If you don't like the rep, but you love the product story, you're probably not going to get that support. So it's really important to have that personal relationship with a local rep.
So we got a comment here from Tyler Winters. This is money! Exclamation point! Exclamation! He is stoked, grateful for a relationship with Atlas and our distribution partners. Man, that is awesome. So okay, so if you're new, or if you've been in business for a while, what are the questions that you should be asking manufacturers to make sure you're maximizing how you can leverage that relationship?
Yeah, well, one of the questions we get most often, and I think it is a really important question, everybody always wants to, it's like, because our industry is so fixated on warranties, it's, I think you have to ask the question, how do you deal with claims? How do you deal with problems when they come up, right? Walk me through that process. Who's my person I call? What's the timeline? And just look for transparency, and then, see how they answer that question. I think it's a really important question, because, we're making an asphalt shingle. There's going to be an issue every once in a while. Every contractor that's been in business for a long time knows you're going to have bumps in the road. The question is, how is that manufacturer going to deal with it? How is your distributor going to deal with that when something's missing on that job package, right? Ventilation boxes are missing. Well, what do you do about it? What's that process? How are they going to support you when things don't go right? Because it's all sunshine and lollipops when we're talking about getting into a partnership together. But it's like, hey, let's talk about what happens when something doesn't go right. I think that's one of the most important things you can ask.
And that's something that, we can apply on both sides of the fence. I mean, as a roofing contractor, what defines, we just talked about it. Everybody's getting better and better at sales. Everybody's getting better and better at promotions and at marketing, and the billboards and the truck wraps and the websites and all the things that you can start a company right now and spend 10 grand and look like you've been around for 20 years and have the best brand ever. Right.
Yeah.
But what really defines a roofing contractor from a customer's perspective is not, all of the fluff, but what happens when things go wrong. And that goes all the way up the chain of command. I mean, from a roofing contractor to the supplier to the manufacturer, because the reality of it is, We're still in construction.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
You got it.
Things are going to go wrong. You're going to mess something up as a roofer. You're going to roof the wrong house. You're going to put the wrong shingles on. Something's going to break. You're going to drop. You're going to, you know, shingles going to fall off and damage a vehicle. You're going to break a mailbox. Like something's going to happen. Nails, whatever. How do you handle it when that thing goes wrong?
Yeah.
And I think you, as you're asking the manufacturer these questions and the supplier these questions to establish that relationship, you should also be looking internally as to how you answer that question if a customer or a potential customer asks you that same question.
Sure.
A lot of value in that mindset of thinking about that.
I'd also ask, hey, let me talk to 3 or 4 contractors that have been using you for multiple years, right?
Yep.
Do you have some people I can talk to? Maybe it doesn't need to be in your market, or it could be other markets. I think that's key too. You can go online and find tons of bad information and upset people about any brand out there or any distributor out there for whatever reason. They didn't hold a price. There was a disagreement about a claim. You know, we said it was installation. They said it was manufacturing defect. Insurance companies, you know, blaming. There's the blame game happens all around. The question is, go talk to people that have been doing business for multiple years. And I want to talk to some of those people. So that's another thing I'd ask your manufacturers reps is, hey, if I'm considering doing business with you, let me talk to 3 or 4 people that could tell me a little bit more and I could talk to directly.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, you know, you got technology, like all of our vendor partners, we got manufacturing partners, we got suppliers. And as you know, as now I'm the old guy in the industry, been in the industry for well over a decade now. I've had relationships that long, right? So my manufacturer, supplier, you know, these reps and these relationships I've had for a very long time. And it was because I was able to take the initiative to build those early on and make those connections early on. And I can't tell you how valuable that is. 10 years down the road, you know, being able to have those solid relationships are really putting us in really good shape. And this year, and we'll dive into it because, you know, the elephant in the room is what the heck is going on with manufacturing, right? We got COVID. We got everywhere but Colorado got hailstorms last year, multiple hurricanes and COVID. Yeah. The shortage and inflation in building materials. Yeah. It's affected all of us. You know, I mean, hands down, it just has. It's affected all of us. And what are some things that we can do to prepare and educate and help our viewers and our contractors that are watching this for the road ahead? If we have another year with a bunch of storms and things like that, what should we be aware of? What should we be doing to prepare for that?
There's no quick out to the problems that our industry is facing right now. That's just the transparent, honest truth. There's no magical, you know, squares sitting out there. It's sort of like an airplane, right? You know, the industry had, you know, a downturn right when COVID hit in terms of taking production down, you know. So again, I don't run any other organization other than help, you know, Atlas, you know, down its path, but we kept running, but there was a lot of capacity that was not being utilized from March to call it June. Then we sort of figured out, we're a resilient and essential industry. We figured that out as a roofing industry and as a construction industry. So then things ramped back up, but it's just, again, it's like that airplane seat that flies empty. You can't get that machine time back. So the industry last year, these are public numbers that came out from the Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association, was up 10%. Okay. There are very few years in ARMA's history in terms of shingle shipments to the market that have been up double digits. So there was 2 hurricanes in Louisiana. There was a hurricane in the Panhandle. There was a wet one that hit Houston. There was a couple others that did some little things. You had a 100-year storm in Iowa. Yeah. You had Minnesota get hit. But think about what didn't get hit. You just said it. Colorado.
Some of the major players, Colorado.
Dallas, Fort Worth didn't get a major storm. There really was no storms to speak of on the East Coast. So we had a lot of storms. We became really, really busy. New construction is ticking up, right? The trend is up. I think it was 1.1 million starts last year. All of that combined to be a really good roofing year amidst a pandemic. And we didn't have production. And guess what? Last month, we had this storm roll through Texas. and Mississippi and Oklahoma, and froze out a bunch of suppliers and manufacturers and raw materials. And we lost, as an industry, again, who knows how many additional squares, but it's going to be really tight for a while. If you've been in distribution lately, they don't have a lot of inventory.
Yeah.
And, I think just getting the channel filled back up and manufacturers getting enough inventory to have that working, comfortable inventory, it's going to take probably the better part of this year and into next year.
Yeah.
So,
and
long answer to your question, but there's no quick out.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously there's bias. We got a manufacturer, you're going to talk manufacturing, but from what I've heard from a number of different perspectives, I mean, more distribution side, because obviously they're a little more neutral, but there's a lot of contractors that have experienced Iowa, like they don't have any shingles, like they're getting shipped from all over the place to try to get shingles, and contractors are having to sell color, not manufacturers.
100%.
Like it's like, okay, well, you have two choices: weathered wood or black.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of manufacturers out there that are only making those colors.
Yeah.
We don't talk about them, but it's like, that's the thing, is those are the two most popular colors in our market and in the industry and across the country. And contractors have gotten to the point where I can't even guarantee you a manufacturer.
Yeah.
So all the more important to have those relationships in place to try to get what you can from that relationship, but then also the supply side. So if that suppliers, if you're willing to go to bat for the supplier and you got the relationship, they're willing to go bat for you.
Yeah.
If you show up one day and they've never heard of you, and I've been doing business with them for 10 years. Hey, that's just a reality of it.
Yeah.
We get dedicated trucks. Sorry, but we could, we're going to be, when we're buying enough materials and have those relationships for a decade.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be. And that's the way we looked at it is, hey, look, we look at sales history and sort of not, who's our new friends, right? I think we want to support and have an opportunity to take advantage of bringing on new distribution and new contractors. But we have to make sure that we take care of our foundational partners that we've been in business with for so long, and it's a really tough thing, for distribution and for manufacturing. I'm sure every manufacturer is going through this to some degree, to be shipping out more than we've ever shipped, but still being told it's not good enough, I feel their pain, it's just we haven't seen this type of a scenario, certainly in my tenure and 15 years in the industry.
Yeah. So. Well, I think, and let's shed a little, it's like, oh my God, doom and gloom. Okay. Business is booming. The industry is booming. There's lots of opportunities, but from a strategic perspective, for me as a fiduciary for my company that looks at the numbers and really wants to manage, like a lot of us have a tendency as roofing contractors, especially if we're not used to storms or we get that one big storm we haven't had in a while, we try to just shove as much production as we possibly can as quickly as we possibly can. Yeah. And there's a lot of residual effects that companies go out of business because of that, because they can't cover their expenses of, it's like, I use the analogy of the anaconda when it's trying to eat a deer. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what roofers are. They're the anaconda, like the storm is that deer. I think this is going to actually force us or the sharp contractors it's okay to go out a little ways.
Totally.
Like you're better off going long versus deep.
Yes.
In my mind, like instead of trying to do 20 roofs a day, do 5 a day and do it for as long as you possibly can. You're going to be able to, your margins are going to be there. Your cash is going to be way more predictable. Everything in your business is more predictable. Your overhead, you're not going to overwhelm your team, your staff. So look at this as an opportunity, and blame it on the manufacturers.
Sure. Hey, you can blame it on us.
Here's the thing. Customers aren't going to be leaving saying, oh, well, this roofer's going to do it next week. No, they're not.
Yeah. They can't get it either.
Yeah. So what? Sorry, we're a couple months out.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And it's sort of the same thing we're trying to talk about every day is it's okay to use these letters, these price increase letters, these material shortage letters in the home and say, this is real. It's really happening, right? These price increases are happening because asphalt went from negative. Do you guys remember back in the peak of the summer last year, asphalt pricing went negative. The future's on negative and it's back to $65 a barrel and heading towards 80, right? So if you just question why are the manufacturers going up, just look no further than a barrel of oil. And I think that you can use that in the home. And guess what? I've heard pretty consistently that Xactimate, because there's so much pressure upwards, they're keeping up like they never had with making sure that those Xactimate numbers reflect the material increases, so I think, we can't be afraid of this stuff.
They used to be 2-3 months delayed.
Exactly.
Now it's like they're on it.
They're on it because they know, they see it's real, and it's not smoke and mirrors. So I think you use those things to your advantage. Those letters are real, and it's something you can bring in the home and say, look, I can't get the product, or, hey, here's why my price is my price.
Yeah. Well, as sales, right? We talk about sales, talk about entrepreneurship in here as a selling strategy. And there's a lot of retail contractors out there, a lot of people selling retail, and that's still the biggest segment of our industry.
Absolutely.
And if you're selling by 85% or so, but so from that perspective, if you're going in there competing strictly on price, oftentimes you're going to be competing against an uneducated contractor.
Sure.
So using the tool such as letter and that sort of thing is really going to set you apart, saying, hey, we're not going to be the cheapest, maybe not the highest price, but we're going to be a fair price. We're going to charge you the right value, but this letter and this explains, and it almost like takes away from the other contractor that are the really cheap guys, because it just makes them look like they're uneducated and they're not going to be around, because if they don't know and they're still selling at cheap prices and 10%, I mean, it's edging up there pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're not going to make any margin, and they're going to be calling me to try to help save the business.
Exactly. Yeah. And these are not easy things, right? And I wouldn't for a second sit here and have any of your audience members here, hearing this from some guy representing manufacturers saying, this is easy, just, absorb the price increases, and, we're all in this together.
You got to navigate it.
It is difficult. And, I think that the reality is, though, we have to face this stuff head on, and we also have to put it in perspective. If you're in new construction and you're selling a new home, the lumber package alone is $25,000 more today than it was a year ago. $25,000 for wood, for lumber in the house. OSB pricing is 3-4 times as much. We can't even get appliances, because they're, you can't get stuff out of China or anywhere over in Asia, because of the global shipping issues. So this pandemic has had some pretty unbelievable impacts. And, I think we're busy, and I think that's the thing to focus on, is just, be flexible in your business as you get out there and sort of navigate it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to take a quick break to thank our sponsors who make this possible. After that, we'll kind of go into, we already talked about how to leverage the relationship with the manufacturers. I want to see how you can get that relationship involved with the insurance company, what that looks like, and also the evolution of the impact-resistant shingle. But our headline sponsor, of course, Job Nimbus.
Job Nimbus is a fully customizable back office solution.
Track leads, jobs, tasks from one easy-to-use software.
And with the largest ecosystem of integrated partners, if we don't do it, we have a friend who does.
Learn how the #1 back office system in roofing
can help you be efficient, be organized, be professional, and be profitable.
If you've not checked out Job Nimbus, make sure you're giving them a shot. Go to info.jobnimbus.com/roofing-academy. And up next is our friends at C3 Group.
C3 Group's learning management system allows users access to digital training content, virtual trainings, and integrated chapter exams, all with the goal of helping a student prepare for user certification exams, as well as prepare them for real-world situations we know are faced daily. As a leader in this marketplace, we will continue to add value wherever possible to better our industry as a whole. Join us today and be part of that change.
So if you want to check out their virtual training, go to c3adjusters.com and then go to Xactimate Training. Also, C3 Group is going to have the 3rd annual Calm Before the Storm charity golf event in Lakewood, Colorado. I know, Randy, you were going to be one of the sponsors, right?
Yep,
the Roofing Academy
there,
for the breakfast. We're sponsoring, I think, I don't remember, maybe the Longest Drive or something like. We're sponsoring something like that. But if you guys want to have check that out, golf, or do any kind of sponsorship, all the money goes to, or all the proceeds goes to a nonprofit that actually helps children who have dealt with abuse and stuff like that. So pretty cool concept there. So
it's such a cool way to the industry kind of comes together, and people fly in. I don't know if you're coming in or not, but people fly in from all over the country to go to this thing. It's pretty cool. The course is awesome. They put on a good job. Put on a good event, and it's a lot of fun.
And then last but not least, we got Hail Trace, and honestly, we got hail season, so you better check them out.
If you're in the hail game, if you're working hail claims and selling roofs that have hail damage, you need to know where the hail is, how big the hail is, and when it hailed. I mean, if you're on the fence, it's a game changer.
So if you want to check out Hailtrace, go to hailtrace.com. Their app is also available in the App Store. And where do you get your apps on the Android? Was it the Android store? Is that what they call it?
Google Play.
Google Play. My bad. Whatever it is. I'm sorry. I send the blue text messages. I apologize. But no, for real, with obviously the hail season going on, make sure you're checking them out. We'll be having Derek Klein, CEO and founder of Hailtrace, on here very shortly again to go over some of his predictions and see how accurate he can be. All right. So I do want to go into that relationship a little bit, because we mentioned, hey, how to leverage manufacturers, all that good stuff. What is the relationship, the ideal relationship between the contractor, the manufacturer, and the insurance company? What does that look like?
But that can be a complicated relationship. That maybe is the simplest way to put it. But I think Randy, I'd be very curious from your perspective what your relationships with insurance companies look like, because I think that has evolved over the years as well. And from a manufacturer's perspective, again, I think they are trying to make sure their customers are taken care of. I think that's, what I would assume their mission number one is. And, manufacturers are trying to make good products, but also make sure that we're not being blamed for things that are, actually hail damage. That comes up from time to time. But I think generally speaking, the insurance company has some interesting trends in terms of how they're looking at building a really quality roof with like the fortified program. IBHS is ranking impact resistant shingles now in terms of trying to understand how do they really perform. But how do you as a contractor do you have relationships with the insurance companies when hailstorms hit, or is that more complicated?
It's definitely complicated because you got two sides of the fence. You got the consumer side with the agents, right? So those relationships are fantastic. We try to have those be as good as possible.
Yeah.
And part of how we make those so good is we're not out there filing claims on stuff that doesn't meet.
Sure.
If our whole industry can take that.
Yes.
Okay. Stop.
Take that nugget. It'll help us all.
It will help all of us. I mean, if a house is damaged, the insurance has to pay for it. That is what it is.
Yeah.
But if it's not, it's unscrupulous claims and all the stuff that's going on that drives all these wedges in between the system the way it's supposed to work, in my mind, right?
Yeah.
And we've all had that ghost hail claim that gets approved, but how many get approved versus how many just affect insurance rates, affects the customer, affects the insurance, relationship with roofers. So on the other side, the supplementing side of things, that again, if you do it the right way and you supplement for things that are valid items that need to be done in the right way and have the right documentation and do a quality job there, you can do it right.
Absolutely.
It's when you're trying to manipulate the insurance company to get more money for things and billing for things that you're not supposed to be billing for porta potties on a residential roof when you're never using stuff like that. Like, come on, there's no reason to try to hit that home run on every single roof. Right. You can do it fair, you can do it respectable, and that's the way the system is supposed to work.
Sure. Yeah, the system's supposed to work that way. And if it doesn't work that way, there's going to be a reaction, right? What you mentioned, rates are going to creep up, which is not good for all of us as consumers, so there's always going to be this teeter totter, and again, legal action is another thing that a lot of contractors have faced, for insurance fraud, and you see in the state of Texas, there was a big push over the last several years, and it kind of in 2019, I think they, worked a lot on the, deductible, situation there. But again, none of these games are really worth it in the long run, right? For our industry, for our reputation as an industry, right? I think there has to be, working together, more than we're working apart, because it's good for all of us. It's about the sustainability of our industry.
Absolutely. And I'll go out and say it. I mean, we have a lot of roofers that follow this, a lot of roofers that follow me. I have a lot of contractors I work with. And if you're still, no matter where you are in the country, if you're still covering deductibles and thinking that that's a solid business model, stop. It's not worth it.
Stop responding
you're losing
to
money,
it,
right? You're losing money.
Yeah.
You're not, if you feel you have to cover deductible in order to make a sale, call me. We got to talk because I can help you build a sales program that can get you the value you need and deserve. Totally. I mean, think about that. If you do 100 roofs in a year and you cover $1,000 on every one of those roofs, that's $100,000 you just lost down the drain.
Totally.
And how it affects the industry in and of itself.
I think these topics were so hot for like multiple years and we stopped talking about it. And then you also start hearing anecdotally that we're sliding back into bad habits in areas. And that just has a way of sort of expanding. So it's something we have to keep front and center. We can't just act like, oh, we talked about it. I think it's one of those things to always keep front of mind, is that because we want to react to this competitive situation, but what we really need to do is build a process for being able to sell around it, sell against that guy, so he can't land a job, right? And then that contractor will either be out of business or having to figure out a way to do it the right way, and it's about educating the consumer. I think that's the key.
And I think so many consumers, and we get manipulated by the consumer because they're like, well, I'm only going with somebody who's going to do all my claim.
That's right. I don't want to stroke my check for $1,500.
But here's the thing. We see the front end. We see that, okay, I just want the contract. That same consumer that's willing to defraud their insurance company, that's willing to manipulate the system, that's the same customer that's going to not want to pay you that depreciation check when they get it.
You got it.
You show up in a new Corvette in the driveway. It's like, where's my 10 grand you owe me? Oh, nah, I'll get it to you eventually. 6 months down the road, you don't get, and it happens all the time. Every roofer deals with this sort of thing. Customers not want to pay in the back. And even when you do a quality job, we have to take control of that and educate our customer and do a much better job on the front end of setting expectations and knowing your worth, knowing your value. And if you're not worth that extra $1,000 as a contractor, again, you need to have a real talk with yourself, because you got to know your value. Yeah. As a human, as an individual, and as a contractor, know your worth, know your value, and don't compromise.
Yeah. It is interesting too to see, we talk about insurance premiums going up, but the other thing the insurance companies have been doing for many years now is there's the Insurance Institute for Home and Business Safety. I know I butchered that, but IBHS, they started work on this program called the Fortified program, which has really been a coastal program. It's really like, how to build a roof and a home that's actually going to withstand, hurricane situations and better, and really trying to create a standard that the insurance companies hypothetically could point to as, hey, this is a way we could discount in the future, or things like that. And I see that really gaining a lot of traction. And I think it's a signal that they're trying to control, these billion-dollar storms, and not, last year we set a record as a country for billion-dollar disasters. Think about that. Yeah, 2020 was a record $22 billion plus disasters, from weather events. And I don't necessarily know that weather's been that much more extreme. I just think that the market, the contracting community has figured out a way to really go weaponize these storms in a way they never have. So, the insurance company's reaction to that, I believe, is to try to, again, create standards that are going to create better performance, but then also make sure they get their insurance premiums up to sort of offset what they're paying out. I think it's just what we see happening.
Well, and look at and jurisdictions are following suit. I know in our market, there's 2 now fairly big, large jurisdictions that have instituted a requirement of impact resistant shingles.
Yeah.
Like you have to go back
and they wouldn't do that if it actually wasn't working, right?
Yeah.
It's buying them a couple of storms. Yeah. It's not a hail-proof shingle, but it's buying them some of those smaller storms that with a non-IR shingle, it's, that thing's getting.
If they can spread the gap from replacing this roof every 3 years, every 9 years.
Exactly.
What does that do to their business and bottom line?
And there's probably some contractors on here thinking, well, I don't want these roofs to go from 3 years to 9 years, but I think that also is a mind shift, for our industry, is that, can we do, less and also get, more margin, right? That's a tough topic. Even for me as a manufacturer, you say, well, do I really want to sell less shingles? Distribution, do they want to sell less shingles? Do you want to do less roofs? But, again, you got to think about the long-term sustainability of the business as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the retail market is by far the largest market segment in our industry. And so many of us get so hung up on the storm hype that we're like, oh my God, impact resistant shingles. The retail market is the biggest market in the country still. So that's not going to change.
It won't.
So diversify your product offering, diversify your verticals within roofing, and you can still build a sustainable growth business and not be solely reliant and heavily dependent on the storms. When they happen, great. Take advantage and make the most of it.
Totally.
When they don't happen, you should still focus on growing your business.
Absolutely. You have to take your contractor hat off and put your consumer hat on and think, if I wasn't in this business and I got called on by a contractor and they sold me a non-IR roof in Colorado and I didn't know anything about it, and then later I found out after that roof was installed about IR and the insurance benefits and the performance benefits, how would I feel about that contractor that sold me that roof?
You're not getting that deal anyways.
That would be bad for your reputation.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't get the referral business, because you didn't talk about something that would be important for the consumer. So put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. You have to talk about these options.
Yeah. Well, another thing, can we please stop giving it away? That's killing us too, right? We went from everyone covering deductibles to now everyone's giving away IR shingles.
Right. IR upgrades for free.
Yeah, free. Yeah. Oh, come on, man.
There's so much value to talk about with IR that it is crazy that would be happening, but we see it.
And it's market it kind of is what it is. But again, I challenge you to build so much value that you can actually charge for it. And you don't have to actually give it away. You know, like the insurance companies are kind of forcing your hand.
Yeah. And you have to build value in a lot of ways. Product can't solve your value, right? Like your company should be built. I strongly believe any contractor's company and business model needs to be built on as product agnostic as possible. Product should just complement what you've built in terms of building value into your company, the way you do things, the way your crews operate, all of that stuff. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Totally.
Yep.
So one thing as we kind of start to bring this thing to a close, I do want to talk about, we mentioned it very briefly in the beginning, is the marketing aspect. And I think that's one thing that Atlas does a really good job with, right? So you guys have Mike Holmes, you have, the cool old school truck that you bring, you have really cool booths. Like I was at IRE, I thought you guys had one of the cooler booths, right? Really good setup there. You do a lot of client spotlights of the roofs that they're doing with Atlas products. Very active on social media, right? If you look on their Facebook page, it seems like every day that you guys are posting and stuff like that. What can you take away from the marketing, the content culture that you guys have kind of created at Atlas that you think that roofers can kind of take away and try to implement in their business?
Sure. I think there's a lot of things that are applicable, and we learned a lot from our contractors about how to build the right content program, right? And it really is community based, right? I think you need to connect with the audience and feature the audience that you're sort of calling on, right? Like if you as a contractor need to be featuring your happy homeowners, you need to be getting testimonials, you need to be doing before and afters, you need to build a visual thing that features these people. And then you also need to feature people that work at your organization, right? Who is this family that makes, this roofing company, right? So that's really what we try to do, is we try to show that we're a community, we're a family, it's the asphalt life community that we talk about. And we also try to make it not just about Atlas. I have a lot of friends and counterparts in this industry that love to participate in our community, but they don't buy our product, and that's totally fine too. We're just trying to build a forum and a place to feature people doing really great things in our industry to elevate the industry. And that ultimately, it's a business decision too, because it does help us long-term down the road in getting opportunities and having respect and just having a seat at the table when an opportunity may arise. That's what we strive for.
And I think all that work you guys put in from a contractor perspective is putting you in a great position, like a year like this,
right?
When everybody's going to have to diversify.
Sure.
Where are they going to go? You got the Chevy and the Ford, right? And then you got all the rest of the great brands that just aren't as big a market share. Where's everybody else going to go?
Yeah.
Like you're in the forefront of this. Like people are seeing what you're doing. They're watching the show. They're seeing the truck and all the marketing and all this stuff. And I think the work that we can apply this to roofers.
Yeah.
The work you do now is going to manifest itself in the future.
Absolutely.
And we have such a hard time seeing that.
Yes.
It's human nature. We want results now, but we got to invest in our brand now. We will see those results in the future.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like we went all in on investing in our website 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it took a long time, but now, like every day we hit up and get leads from that website.
Yeah.
We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in 10 years building that thing.
Absolutely.
But it's a residual, it's like an additional salesperson for your business. But people are so afraid to spend the money now because they're like, oh no, I need the results right now.
Exactly.
So you got to diversify a little bit and be willing to invest a little bit more in the future and kind of have that vision to see that, hey, and be confident and have faith and, and truly believe that the actions you're taking now to build your brand, to diversify yourself,
Yeah.
are going to manifest themselves, and they're going to compound themselves
Totally
in the future.
And that has happened this year on like warp speed. Like contractors have completely evolved the way that they sell. They've figured out how to do it virtually. They've figured out new ways of going about things. And this is a really interesting anecdote that really put things in perspective with me. You remember the PPE loan, situation? A lot of companies took advantage of this. And I asked a contractor a question back in July because I said, look, all I've heard is contractors are busy, you're doing well, things are going well. And then you're applying for this PPE loan. Like, I'm trying to reconcile that in my head. And I think it was before we really understood, where the year was heading. And he said, you know what it's done for our business? Our order file's full. Things are going good. We haven't had to lay anybody off yet, but getting that PPE money was like the jet fuel we needed to go invest in our business. It was like the confidence. We took that money and we set it aside to prepare for what could happen, but we also said we are going to invest in technology, CRM, marketing, and processes. And that was really good perspective for me because, again, I think a lot of companies did that. They said, I'm going to go get this PPE loan, but then I am going to go like put my business on sort of rocket fuel.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget what it's for.
Of course,
because it's all about payroll protection.
Totally.
And there, so many companies that were who otherwise might have had to lay off a lot of people. That was the whole objective. And so they have all their overhead covered.
Yep.
So any of the rest of their income can now be used to grow and grow their business. So it's, as long as you're doing it right.
Totally.
Do it right.
Yeah. And it is all about doing it the right way, but it is sort of that, it's that mindset that, hey, look, this was sort of a safe place to fall back on in order to sort of take some big steps forward for our business or our industry. So.
All right. Well, Randy, it's coming. As we bring this thing to close, we always end it with a golden nugget. So, Stan, I give you a second to think about this golden nugget. This is a big deal on the Start, Build, Grow show, so don't screw it up, okay? So basically what it is a strategy that somebody can implement, things to avoid, whatever you think that you want to say to roofing contractors out there that you think could help their business. Randy, for the 142nd time, lay it on me. What you got?
Well, I think I want to kind of go personal today, and from an individual standpoint. Everyone out there watching, whether you're a salesperson, an independent contractor, a big business owner, a small business owner, an admin, whatever you're doing in life, know your worth. I think a lot of us, we define who we are by the circumstances we've been around or how we've been brought up or those sort of things. And I want to challenge everyone out there to really, dive deep and look in the mirror and truly, figure out
the idea of empathy. If you're an owner of a business or a sales manager or a leader, it's been a really difficult year for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. If somebody snaps at you, if somebody's late for work, if somebody's not doing exactly what they're supposed to do, just take a deep breath, try to understand what they're going through. There's a pretty good chance that it's something totally unrelated to work or whatever. So as leaders and managers, we have to really cast a big vision and hold people accountable, but we also have to empathize with people. So that's something I'm really trying to preach to our team right now is think about the situation that our distributors, our contractors, our spouses, our kids, it's been a really, really difficult year for a lot of reasons. So show some empathy wherever you can.
Yeah, love it.
All right. You heard it here first on the Start, Build, Grow show. Know your value and show people empathy. All right. Stan, thank you so much for coming in, man. We really appreciate it. Awesome for episode 142. Everybody out there, we love you guys. Thanks for tuning in as always. It's episode 142.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
You heard, hey, like and subscribe. The celebrity told you, okay? Roofing Contractor Magazine. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.